Hello, students. We're going to take a look today at your Evidence of Evolution packet. And what we're going to look at today is the first set of ideas or the first set of evidence for evolution, and that is looking at the fossil record. So when we look at the fossil record, we look at fossils from various periods and we try to see how are these fossils similar to each other? How have they changed? And what does that tell us? So what we're going to look at here for this example is an example of the skulls of horses from the Dawn horse, which is considered to be the oldest form of the horse, all the way through horses that we see today. So over here, Equus, the modern horse. We're going to also look at the front hooves or the front limbs of those same Dawn horses all the way over to the modern horse of today. So when we look at the fossil record, we're going to do something that basically we do all through this kind of evidence, and that is that we are going to compare the different fossils that we have. We're going to look for the similarities and we're going to look for the differences. So what I would like you guys to do right now is to take a look at these skulls. And so I would like you to look at all 5 skulls together, and I want you to come up with at least 2 similarities between the skulls that might lead to the conclusion that they're all related, that they're all related species, that they have a lot of things in common. I want you to use Kami and the text editor, and I want you to write in those 2 similarities that you come up with under question number 1 or under piece number 1 below this diagram. Pause and go ahead and do that. Okay, now that you are back with us, let's take a look at some of the examples that we talked about in class today and in class over kind of a long period of time. So we said in class today that there's a triangular shape to the skull. We said that there's a pointy bone on top of the muzzle, and we said that there's a gap between the front and back teeth. You may also have other similarities. There are some more that you could come up with, but these are 3 of the top ones that we've come up with over time. And so let's look at those. All of these have kind of a basically triangular shape where the top of this back part is tall and it comes down to kind of a point here. And then this is kind of a deep jaw, not overly here, but it is a little bit squared off. And so you can see this basic triangular shape all the way through. And so that's important. All of these fossils keep the same basic format of shape. All of them also have this pointy bone on top. So this is somewhere around where the nose is, and all 5 of those fossils have that same bone. Now they're different. They've changed over time, which is the definition of evolution, just simply change over time. And so these are probably in some way adaptations that have helped this organism to survive. And so we have a fossilized record of those. The other thing that we can see is this, it's highlighted in green here. That's the space between the front and the back teeth. And so that is present all the way through, and that's going to tell us at least a little bit about what this particular organism ate as it went about daily life. Next thing that I would like you to do is number 2 down at the bottom, and that is that I would like you to look through these different fossils of the skull. So we're still looking at this top row here. And I would like you to come up with what is the biggest change in skull anatomy that you think occurred from the Dawn horse, which is about 55 million years ago, through to today, to our modern horse. Pause and go ahead and do that. Okay, now that you're back with us, let me give you a couple of things or several things that I talked about in class today and over kind of a longer period of time. here are some of the things that students have said are differences. So changes that they think are pretty big changes. So the first one that students usually say is the size. The Dawn horse was about the size of a small dog, and the current horse, well, some of them are well above our head height. So we have a huge difference in the size between what the horse used to look like and what the horse looks like now. We also talked about the elongation of the face. So here at the beginning, the face is pretty short and stubby, but over time, that front part goes out farther. So it doesn't just get larger, but you get an elongation. You get a longer or a stretching out of the face. We said that there's more space between the front and the back teeth. So while we have the space all the way through here, that space increases over time. We said that the cheek teeth are more forward. So instead of being directly under the eye socket, those teeth move forward. And we said that there is a development of a deep lower jaw. Now, you may also have some other things that you came up with, and that's fine. Just add in a couple of these to what you've already written. Last thing that I would like you to do on here is to put in what is the biggest change in leg anatomy that occurred from the Dawn horse to the modern horse. So pause for just a second and go ahead and put that in. Okay, so over time, we said that there's a reduction of side toes. There's an enlargement or just a development at the beginning of the hoof, and the large bone became larger and thicker. So here at the beginning with the Dawn horse, we can see that horses used to kind of have feet, kind of like what we're seeing with dog hats. But over time, horses started to walk essentially on their middle finger. And so that required a much thicker bone. So some of these smaller bones started to fuse together. And we can see that happening over time. So here, this is much thicker, and this is much smaller. You can see that they're starting to, they're not nearly as far apart or as distinct here. They're kind of all together, so they're fusing together. And then here, they've completely fused. And here, not only have they fused or joined together, but they're also much larger, much sturdier. So this is looking at fossil evidence and taking that evidence to see how you can trace changes from early organisms to current organisms and try to see, as you go through that, could these have been related? On this, you can trace those changes pretty easily. And so you say with pretty good certainty that these were most likely related.